Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Parks with Patrick and Ron. This is our ultimate cruise tips and tricks. I am Patrick, and I am joined by fellow pack member Ron D'Anna. Hey, Ron, how's it going?
Ciao.
Hey, ciao bello. It is
Buonasera.
so good to be here. Rob was so kind enough to give us this space in the Park Adventurers Club to discuss. Both of us went on European cruises, and we wanted to share that information with you. Additionally, I have joined Ron in the ranks of the Tomorrowland Travel Agency, and so we'll also be giving some special tips for some of our pack members to utilize our services as well. I'm very excited to talk about my future as a travel professional, but also our cruises. So, Ron, you went first. What ship were you on? What line? Where did you go?
So I was on Royal Caribbean's Odyssey of the Seas. This is my third Royal cruise. My first time on one of the Quantum class, which is one of their newer classes. It's smaller than the Oasis class, but came out after, so it's more focused on high tech. But they're beautiful ships. But the ships I think for me are often the draw. But for this one, it was the itinerary was the draw. We left out of Rome or Civitavecchia, more specifically, which is about an hour outside of Rome, and we did a Greek Isles, which our stops were Santorini, uh, Kusadasi, Ephesus in Turkey, Mykonos, Naples, and then back to Rome. Was a week long cruise. Uh, it was absolutely amazing. Some of the most incredible stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Now, for those of you who have not cruised out of Rome, the port and the city of Rome, close?
Not horrible. I think better than like you had for the airport. Um,
Yeah.
but it's about an hour, maybe a little longer, depending on traffic drive. We took a private car service that our hotel chartered out, and it was. And then on the way back, we just used the airport shuttle because we were going right to the airport from there. It's not a bad drive. Uh, not just the Italian countryside on highways to get to the port, which is a little industrial, but it's an easy drive. Plenty of options. There is public transportation. You can take the train from Rome to the port, and then you have either like a 15-20 minute walk, or there's cabs and Ubers that'll take you into the port from there, is my understanding. But we wanted to go straight there, and it was easier carrying that much luggage and a 6-year-old around on the train wasn't what we were looking forward to. So we handled the car service. Our driver didn't speak really any English. I speak next to nothing in Italian. I can understand a little bit and communicate a little bit. My family is entirely
Quanto costa?
Italian.
That's what I needed
Um,
the most. Quanto costa?
but the only thing I could hear her is yelling and cursing at whoever she was on the phone with in Italian, which I very clearly understood more than anything else she said, which is more of what
yeah,
I'm used
yeah.
to with my grandparents.
Our families are well versed in those words. You and I, we both went out, and you went early out to Rome. I went early out to Venice. Um, do you recommend doing that for a cruise?
I would do it one way, especially if you're traveling. If you're taking an 8 hour flight, it's definitely worth it, and you don't get to see your departure city very well. Um, so adding it on is particularly like if you leave on a Saturday, do it at the end. If you leave on a Sunday, do it at the beginning. Is kind of my recommendation. Take a couple extra days off, like make a 10-day trip out of a week long cruise, because you really want to visit these cities, particularly when you're going somewhere like this. I've been to Rome before, but it was nearly 30 years, and there were sites. It's not a city you could see everything, even if you're there a week, but because there's so many little things. There's a church, I think it was the Basilica de San Clemente, which I'd never heard of until I was prepping for this trip.
Yes,
It
there's so many
is
basilicas.
It is a 13th or 14th century church built on top of like a 4th or 5th century Christian church, built on top of a Roman temple to Mithras, built on top of a banker's house. So as you descend, you go further and further down in history through 4 levels of like down to the Roman kingdom, like pre 400
Wow.
BC, and you see they built it here because there was a spring flowing through, and it was just incredible. These little things that you could find when you spend a little extra time in these cities.
Yeah, and swinging it over to my end, because I'll help answer a question in the chat. I went on the Explorer of the Seas, also Royal Caribbean, my first time Royal. Only my second cruise. I cruised Norwegian for my honeymoon. Might be my last Royal Caribbean cruise. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I went out of Venice, and technically Ravenna. Not close. Port, not close. So make sure, especially when you're taking European cruises, that you know how close the city is to the actual port. If we could have flown into Bologna, Bologna was actually closer to Ravenna than Venice was. Much like Ron, went out there early, wanted to get adjusted to the time. Venice is the most beautiful, magical city I've ever been in. It is just pure beauty everywhere you look. Even if the water's a little bit green, it's still an absolutely stunning place to go on vacation. Everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, there is art of historical significance. And like Ron said, the basilicas that you haven't even heard of just pop up in these neighborhoods, and they're just stunning.
So was this your
The
first time?
question This was my first time. I've only been to Paris and Israel before. So
So
this was my first time in Italy.
going into when you arrive off the Grand Canal, when I did, I remember this was you go straight into Piazza San Marco,
Yeah.
which should be very familiar to almost everybody watching this channel
Yes, no,
because
it looks like Epcot.
it is reversed and the things are just slightly out of place. But you have the Doge's Palace and the
Yep.
Campanella, like that are
Yep.
straight out of the Italy Pavilion.
Yeah, yeah. Could use a Rialto bridge in the Italy Pavilion, but it's. I was trying to walk to Germany. They told me I couldn't do it. The question we got in the chat from Ronald L is, "What's the best time of year to take a cruise to get the best prices?" So I'm going to tell you the worst time of year to take a European cruise is when I went. So that is August. It is the tourist season. It is hotter than Hades in all of the areas I was. And as a lot of people are aware, I don't know if everyone's aware, Europeans do not feel the same way about air conditioning that we do here in America. And oh boy, was I warm quite a bit. So I would not recommend traveling to Europe in August. There's
So
me, my wife Shane, and Cece on the Explorer of the Seas. So yeah, August 13th, that area, rough times, very hot.
so it really depends on where you're cruising. Places that are more seasonal, like Europe or Alaska, for example, the shoulder seasons, which is the beginning and end of the summer into the early, like late spring, early fall, like I would say the Alaska and European seasons tend to start sometime in May and then sometime in September. Those last few weeks on either end of that are when you're going to get your best deals and the least crowded. However, schools are in session. It makes it a little tougher. We did not want to go when we went, was the last week of July, but originally we had some friends who were going to go with us from California, and school starts for them the first week of August. So we booked here. They ended up not being able to go, and they ended up actually on the Disney Treasure a week after. But
Wow.
yeah, so that's why we went there. I would recommend trying to avoid, as Patrick said, that July, August in Europe in particular, because like the Europeans are off. They some like it like
Yep.
they get a month off at that point in some countries, like, and they take it all of that time. And I will speak
Yeah.
to the heat. I know, Patrick, you said it was bad, but I don't think you quite had it as bad as we did
Yeah,
some
you
of
said
those days.
you were in really bad shape.
So
We hit mid 90s.
Rome was averaging mid 90s. Mykonos and Santorini were very pleasant, like low to mid 80s. which is kind of what I would want when I'm on an island like that in the summer.
Yeah.
But Turkey was 104, 105.
Nah.
And you're
This is
walking around
nah.
unshaded ruins. The
Oh,
bus AC just couldn't handle it. There was no AC anywhere else. We ended up, it was so hot. We ended up going back to the ship. Like we still had like 3 or 4 hours in port at the end of our excursion, which we'll get to what we did in each
yeah.
port in a little bit. But for like if you're doing a typical Caribbean or Bahamas cruise for the best price, uh, January or February, or I would say like not around the holiday breaks, because we'll talk about some of our future cruise plans at the end of this.
Yeah.
Um, but or September, October during hurricane season. But then you just got to be wary. Your
Yo,
itinerary could be moved. Your flights could be canceled. So those are the cheapest seasons for that. Um,
I
but
cruised
just
for my
beware.
honeymoon during hurricane season, and we got a heck of a deal. And we also got chased up the coastline by a tropical storm. And oh boy, not fun. We also had some rough seas, as I'm sure we'll talk about. For my ports, we hit up Santorini and Mykonos, which are the two that are the same. And then we traveled to Athens and then split Croatia before we returned back to Ravenna. And you and I, we both, as we were kind of prepping for the show, we took very different approaches to our vacations and our time at port. Um, what was your favorite port? What do you think really stood out for you? What was the biggest hit amongst the family? Because we are both, our family structures are identical. It's, heteronormative relationship, wife, husband, 6-year-old daughter.
Yeah. It's hard to. I really did love almost all the ports. So let me tell you, like what I did in each port. We'll probably just go a little bit into that.
Okay, yeah,
I did more
let's go.
excursions on this cruise than I did in my
Really?
entire previous 6 cruises combined,
Wow.
or the same amount. So I did 3 excursions out of 4 ports. I might do 1 excursion on another 7 night or even longer cruise. Um, so we went to Santorini. I did uh, a excursion that was I think about 4 to 5 hours. We started in by going to Akatiri, which is a town, which is a ruins I had never heard of until planning for this trip. Rob, I think I do have a picture labeled for that. This is a indoor archaeological site. Basically, same thing that happened to Pompeii happened when Santorini, the volcano that the island is made out of, went off in 1500 BC. So this is a 3,500-year-old. No, that is Ephesus.
That's,
Um, that
there it is.
is part of the. This is one angle of a room that I would probably say is about 2 football fields in size, which may be anywhere between 5 and 10% of the entire ruins of this city of probably about 10 to 15,000 that was covered with ash in a similar way to Pompeii, but in 1500 BC. It was part of the Minoan civilization. There is some speculation whether that may be this volcano exploding and wiping out so much of the Minoan civilization was the origin of a lot of the flood myths and uh, uh, Atlantis. So,
Atlantis.
like, I to keep my daughter interested, I said this might be Atlantis you're walking through. I mean, they try and play that down, say Plato probably just might have had some influence by this, but this is one he based it off. But there, I've seen that spoken in literature that this could be there. Um, so we did that, and it's not a huge site. It doesn't get a lot of funding. They haven't even been able to do any digging in the last 2 seasons because their major patron was a Russian oligarch who Greece wasn't allowing funding after the Ukraine war started. So uh, so they haven't been able to dig for the past 2 years because it's a great site, but it's was only discovered in like the mid 20th century, so people don't think about it the way they think about Pompeii, even though it has a lot of the same levels of history there. It has the world's or the oldest known working plumbing toilet.
What?
It had a second floor toilet that that would flush straight down into a
Yeah,
sewage system. It's an incredible sight. You could do it in in a couple hours. It's
can, can
indoors, so even then it's not too hot.
can you use the
And from there we
toilet?
went to the no. They
Oh,
actually don't. They used to let you walk around these streets, but so many people were slipping because it's old marble.
oh God, that's
Um,
that's a really good point to pause on real quick. Please know where you are going and what type of surfaces you'll be walking on, and bring proper footwear. My goodness, I needed sneakers so many places because it was just slick marble everywhere in these ancient cities. Um, Ron, real quick, before we continue on our ports, we had a great question from Jordan Garrett in the chat, one of our fantastic pack members. We didn't talk about, where did you stay on the ship? Aft, forward, midship? What kind of room?
we had a very forward, uh, standard balcony cabin. This is the first time I've actually ever done a ocean view balcony. I've done the internal on the Oasis before, or typically we just do an we don't spend a lot of time in the room, so we don't usually like we have okay if a balcony is this much more, we'll pay for it. And on older ships, I will say this: the difference between a at a certain point, they went from 10 to 30% balconies to like 50 or 70% balconies being the amount of cabins. So on newer ships, I like say let's take for the DCL for example, like the Magic and the Wonder, a lot less balconies as a percentage as opposed to the Dream class and the Wish class ships have a much higher balcony percentage. So the price differential is going to be less on those than it is on the older. So we did a forward-facing balcony on the port side of the ship. I was almost 2 rooms back below the bridge wings. So we got a good view looking forward. Beautiful balcony. Was great to sit on there at night. Sat out there a couple times. Saw a sea turtle swim right by. But went by so fast you can't
It's
go.
awesome.
Hey,
Yeah,
Andy,
yeah,
come look at this. But another night I was sitting out there just like looking at the stars, and there's a few shooting stars.
yeah.
Just absolutely amazing, like literally magical time out there.
It really is. I had the aft, what they called the sunset balcony. I was straight back, dead back of the ship in the, I always forget, port and starboard. If you were looking at my room, I was on the right side, but if you were facing the forward of the ship, I was on the left side. Um, I will
Port,
say,
port,
port.
port
I
has
have
4 letters like left.
Nice. I have never cruised without a balcony. I will never cruise without a balcony. To me, it is a must-have. Yeah, that sunset is worth it. Fun fact: they repainted this entire back deck during my cruise, and I did not appreciate it because we could not use our balcony while they were stripping it
Uh,
and spray painting it. But
you seem
the
to have a lot of bad luck on this cruise. It sounds like.
Yeah, we had a lot of bad luck. We had a lot of bad luck, but man, always for me, always get a balcony versus interior. I did spend a lot of time in the room. We got breakfast delivered every morning, so the balcony was worth it.
I won't do an interior anymore. We did that on our first cruise. I think I did one on the one I went on when I was 15, but I barely remember that. Um, and I want a window. I want some natural light because
Yeah,
it gets so dark. I mean, it's great to sleep when it's that dark, but you just lose all track of time in that room. Like it could be noon and you have no idea. Then our my next cruise, I actually
yeah.
have one of those aft balconies like that as. So I'm looking
I
forward to
think
that
we switched
because
places in our next cruise. Ron and
almost
I,
exactly. Yeah,
almost, yeah. So I will be in the forward on our next cruise. Ron and I are traveling with our families together, and we are headed out of New York City on February 15th. And we are headed down to Port Canaveral, and then 2 stops in the Bahamas, the private island, and then Nassau. So
yeah.
very
It's going to be
excited
one of
about that.
MSC's last cruises out of New York. They're
I
shutting down out of there
know.
for a while, which I've been upset about because for us, New York's a great, like a very easy port.
Oh,
I mean, when Disney pulled out a couple years ago, I was upset. I never got to go out of there. My My in-laws did; they loved it. Um, and even if it's, I don't think it's usually much more than a cruise out of Florida, but it ends up being so much cheaper for us just because you don't have to fly. Even paying to park at the port is maybe the price of one plane ticket. So
Maybe.
so that's another good hint is look
Yeah.
at some of these ports you wouldn't always think of.
So
Um,
we have viewers in the Park Adventurers Club. Welcome, by the way. It's the Park Adventurers Club. We're doing Beyond the Parks with Patrick and Ron, talking about cruises we went on, cruises we're going on, and look for those ports within driving distance of you. Here in the Northeast, you have Boston, Baltimore, New York has 2 and 3 with Brooklyn, but who knows what the future of Brooklyn holds, because you also have Newark and then you have Manhattan. Um, so yeah, look for those cruise ports that are within driving distance. And if you're adventurous and willing to take a risk, last minute cruise prices, if they're trying to fill up a ship, can really get you a great deal.
Usually those are more affinity now. They're a lot less of those than there used to be. Particularly Florida
Yeah.
residents can get a lot of good ones. Um, yes, they can be. Like last year, we actually had a cruise we booked like 2 or 3 months out. It was supposed to be from Hawaii to Vancouver, 9 nights, and it was going to cost the three of us $1,800 on a Quantum class ship. But then, by the time we did that, uh, the flights were going to be twice that. So so we booked something else instead.
Yeah.
But so that's one thing you always just contribute, like where you're going and what time of year uh, can really affect the secondary costs, which you have to think about. Uh, like I think we got a good deal on our flights. They weren't they weren't the best price. They weren't bad. This is the first time I actually used the flight tracker or the cruise line's flight package. I usually like to book myself, but when I was comparing, they just had it was would have saved us a couple $100 to do that. So those were our rooms.
Yep. We
One thing about the balcony versus inside, depending on the
yeah.
line, the room sizes will be different, not just counting the balcony space. Disney, not as much. Usually the rooms are all about the same size. The only difference is on some of the ships you can get the non-split bathroom interior when all the outside and balconies do have the split bathroom on Disney. Some of the royal ships, the insides can be smaller than the balconies. Other cruise lines like MSC, which is our next, the inside rooms are definitely can be smaller than the balconies. So that's more important to me, is having a little bit more space in the room than the balcony. That's why we tend to go that way. Just because, I will get up and be out of the room within 30 minutes, like showering, getting up and getting out. And then I go in and go straight to bed most nights. Like I might come back and change, but I don't tend to hang in my room, so it's not as important to me.
We're a big take a break family, and so there'd be a lot of times when we would stop, take a break, go back to the room. Cece would hop on her iPad for a little bit, and having that extra space while my wife is getting ready for maybe a more formal dinner, and we just have a little bit of space now. You've cruised a lot more than I did. For this cruise, I went all out. I visited a lot of websites. I visited a lot of YouTube channels. Did you use any of the little packing tips and tricks that people offer when you were getting ready to utilize your space?
Not really. There's a few things I've done over the years that I like. I don't use the back of the door racks. I think we tried it once. It wasn't very
Loved it.
practical. Particularly though, we knew that the storage on this ship was massive. We had 2 closets, like not like like two. We had 2 wardrobe size things, and also there was storage above the bed plus the desk. So we had a lot of space. We didn't even use all of it. That's one of the things I like about the Quantum. Like newer ships tend to have more storage, so that's one thing you have. To think about when you're choosing.
The Explorer is not newer, and it did not have
the
as much
Explorer
storage.
is. Yeah, there's charms to old ships, but the rooms
There is
aren't
not.
usually one of
It's a
them.
lie. That's a lie. I've watched videos of our upcoming cruise, and I'm like, oh my god, this is a cruise ship. This is where I'm meant to be, not on this old dilapidated ship. But I used all the hacks. I got the hooks to hang stuff up on the
The hooks work
walls.
great.
The hooks
But
are
I actually
great
find they hang better on the ceiling because things will slide on the walls.
if they're
But
heavy on the ceiling.
the
Yeah.
lateral force, it won't pull off the ceiling as easily.
Yep.
We've
Yeah.
used those before.
Back of the door we
Don't
use just for
overpack
shoes.
is the one I try to take. Like this
I'm
one, I
so mad at it. Yeah.
definitely tried to pack less. And part of
We
that
did
was
laundry twice, even though we overpacked. We still did laundry.
we did a half a
twice.
bag of laundry just like as I
Yeah.
needed to. I specifically didn't bring a t-shirt for every day, and by the end of it, I'm like, it was so hot, I was so sweaty, I just had to
You're
wash
using
those.
two to three shirts a day at a minimum.
I did that. We did our 9-night. We brought like 3 full-size suitcases, and it was ridiculous. But that
My
was a
goal-
driving. So
Yeah. My goal for this one in February, since we're driving, is that I want one big suitcase and our backpacks. That's it. Just drive along with it. Make it as heavy
I'll
as
bring
we
more
want.
when I drive.
Yeah. Yeah. We had another question in the chat. Thank you so much to all of our fantastic pack members. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to us here. Hit that little bell button. You want to know when we go live. Ronald L., are the more expensive Disney cruise worth it compared to other cruise lines that are a comparable itinerary?
Patrick, you haven't done DCO yet, right?
I have not.
I've done a
it's
few
so
on
expensive.
I've done 2 on the Wonder. And I won't. My usual thing is Disney is worth it if you are Disney people. You have to want that Disney experience. I will say this: 90% of every cruise line, the experience is going to be the same. Like what it is going to be the same. So there are things I love about Disney. I think certain things, the entertainment is top of the line, never a question. But it's always the same, and it's always Disney entertainment. So if you've done the same ship, you're going to see the same shows. That goes for most lines. So that is going to happen to be. But when I was on the Wonder, I found less of the little entertainment around, which I tend to like the pub singers, deck singers.
Oh.
There was less of that on my cruises, which is what I like the big production shows, but I also like to go. And I think Patrick and I are probably going to be at the pub on our next cruise every night. And I like that. And Disney didn't have that on my cruises. The main dining room food, I think, on Disney is the best main dining room food I've had.
It's rated. I do believe it's rated that, yes.
And I've had people come who've done like some of the more premium lines, like Celebrity, basically still tell me, no, Disney food was better. But on the other hand, right now, they're of the main 3 lines I've done in the last few years, particularly post-COVID, they have the worst buffet. The Cabanas, or I have not been on the new ships, but the fact that they close down at a certain point and they force you to get room service, which is free on Disney when you're going to pay a service fee on most other lines. Disney nickels and dimes you less, but it still doesn't make
Royal
up the
nickels
price
and
difference.
dimes you a ton. We haven't really even hit all your ports yet, but let's just quickly change gears because you mentioned nickel and diming, and I felt nickel and dime even with the drink package. So I went with the ultimate drink package. I didn't have to worry about my booze. I didn't have to worry about my coffee. As long as it was under $14, that is, oh, hey, there's my father-in-law. That is DeBubby, as my hand gets in the way. That's actually from Venice. Was their signature cocktail, a spritz of some sort, but it was fantastic. The drinks are just tremendous on Royal Caribbean, and the food is great. But I felt like there was a lot of nickel and diming. Like I felt like you couldn't walk out of there with a zero balance. When on Norwegian, I had a really good opportunity to walk out of there with a zero balance, and I didn't feel the same on Royal.
See, I don't feel that like I haven't gotten the drink package on Royal because it just hasn't been worth it on the cruises I've been on. Because the ones I've been on with Royal have been more port heavy, and I'm not on the boat like um, MSC. I get the drink package because I think it's a better deal with them,
You get Wi-Fi
especially when you
too.
book it. Yeah, when you book it with your cruise, it could be as low with Wi-Fi. It could be as low as like 40-ish a day or so.
Yep.
And that's just the Wi-Fi on Royal, like sometimes.
Yeah.
So I haven't got the drink package. I think the living in Boston area, I think the drink prices are reasonable. I know for a
Yeah.
lot of people that's not going to be
Yeah. No, they're
true,
not.
but
They're not terrible. You can make it on $100 a day, but I got my drink package for $65 a day. So I started every single day with my fancy coffee. I made sure that I had at least 5 drinks over the course of the day, and I got my money's worth because it's about $10 a pop, which is roughly what I would pay going out to dinner here in the New England area.
yeah, I get the coffee card on Royal, which is
Yeah.
like, I think it would for me. I think it's usually somewhere around 30. I think I got mine on like a Black Friday sale for like $25, and it's like 15 premium coffees. So I got my cappuccino or a latte every morning that way. Because I will say, the regular coffee is pretty
Bad.
bad on most
Bad.
cruise lines. Um, except we're talking about going on MSC is what we're doing in the future. It is all Italian coffee, and every bar has an espresso machine. So
Beautiful.
I
Cannot
will
wait.
I went through a lot of coffee on that my last MSC cruise. Um, I don't think like the nickel and diming is that bad. Like it depends on like I don't think I had a couple times I got annoyed with the upseller.
Thank you, David. Thanks,
What did that
Rob.
say? I can't. I had to.
Disney will just nickel and dime you at the parks.
Yeah, they've gotten
Uh,
much worse about it, obviously over the years. But uh, like on Royal, I feel like and other lines, I feel like I do want to go to specialty dining a
yeah.
couple nights out of the thing. I don't, but I don't mind just maybe doing Apollo once for brunch on Disney. So that is the opposite. But I will say, like the price differential you can get is going to wipe out all that nickel and diming these lines do. Like
Yep.
a lot of the time. I think with the magic and the wonder and a little bit more with the dream, you can get some better deals on Disney. But
Yes. Some of the
I
older
honestly,
ships.
the wish and like once there's more of this class out, obviously there's gonna have to be prices go down as ships get older and demand kind of lessens. Like the icon class is still running, could be running almost as much, not quite as much as the treasure, but could be running a lot more than
The
a
icon
lot of the
class
other ships.
is impressive. I think if I had an icon class ship, it might have made a difference. You mentioned something, and I want to bring it back. You said a Black Friday sale. One of the best things about cruises, and if you use a travel professional, they'll help you out with this. Is that you can, if you haven't paid fully, you can cancel and rebook um, if a sale happens. Or for me, I canceled and rebooked my drinks package 3 times until I got the $65
Yeah,
price.
I did that with a
Started
lot of
off
my
at 90,
excursions.
yeah, 99, 75, 65, and just kept rebooking. So watch out for those sales. Black Friday, they did a Cinco de Mayo. They did I think I bought our next cruise on a Labor Day sale.
Yeah, the prices will fluctuate a lot, particularly with Royal. I don't notice so much with like MSC and some of the others. Disney in particular is very static. Uh, and the thing is, though, book early is still going to get you the best rate because you can
Yep.
adjust it as you go. Uh, like I have a friend and a client who's going on a cruise over Christmas on one of the Oasis class. Uh, I've repriced them a couple times, and I think since I booked them in February, I probably knocked off 25% of their fare, like
Wow.
over that week by checking and rebooking. And at a certain point, an agent can see. on certain lines, like how many rooms are left, so we could tell you, you know what, book now. Like there's
Yeah.
not much choice left. So that is something like we have extra tools uh, that not everybody has. But yes, rebooking on a cruise, like I think maybe I changed about 800 I'd saved on my last cruise, which was not
Nice.
an insignificant portion of
No,
it
not at all.
by rebooking. And definitely with the excursions and things like that, keep an eye on those. Uh, no, those are not something like we could always. Some lines let the agents book those for you. Some of them don't really through the agent portal. So, you might have to do some of that on your own, unless you give us, access to your person, like your account. But it's the same thing with like trying to book reservations at Disney. Like agents need your login info to be able to do that for you. So like, or so that happens. Yeah, I think you can get nickel and dimed, but I think at the end of the day, it's almost always still going to be cheaper than Disney. And
Yep.
Disney is worth it, particularly for Disney people. But if you are looking for, what depends on what you're looking for, is what I'm saying. Is it worth it? Like we will do Disney every so often, but we can go to the parks and get a lot of that same experience.
Yeah.
And so we can do a trip to the
Well,
parks and a cruise on a different line for almost the same price.
there is a great point, Rob. Thank you, producer Rob. That is missing from the Disney ships. I hit a jackpot.
So that's another way so that could offset some of that money too, that price differential. I've never lost that much on a cruise.
I had $300 I was gambling with, and I was down to my last 40, and I hit that jackpot. I went up from down 300 to up 260 in a hot minute, and I was like, all right, time to walk away. All I heard leading up to my trip is that Royal and Princess and all these lines are desperate to give away free cruises to people who gamble. So I'm like, I gamble, let's go. And yeah, it is stressful, but that made it all worthwhile.
You can get a free cruise offer on certain lines after your first cruise. It happened to my sister-in-law on our MSC, and she didn't really lose that much money, but she just played the slots almost every evening, and she's a night owl, so she was there pretty late. I probably
slots
went through just
better points than table games.
Yes,
if
let's say I was there just as much and probably betting more, if not close. But I play blackjack, so I don't lose a lot. Like,
ebb and flow.
If you have enough for 10 to 20 hands at the bet your level, you could probably even out and keep that for hours, and not like and enjoy that. But I learned to play blackjack from my grandfather before I learned how to ride a bike.
So we got another question. Oh, go ahead.
Go. I was gonna say, yeah, but he was the kind of guy. He literally used to go. He went to Vegas with the Rat Pack. So,
oh, thank you. We got another question. This will get us back on track to talking about our trips. Is it best to go on an organized excursion or just wing it on your own? So with organized excursions, there's two different options. You can do it through the cruise line, or places like Viator also have excursions. So we did an excursion, one from the cruise line and one from Viator. You did a ton of excursions. We also winged it a bunch. So what do you think?
Depends on where you are and what you're comfortable with is really what I'm going to say is, and sometimes, as you said, there was big sales for Black Friday. So the deals I got by booking through Royal were about the same price as, the Viator ones. And we use Viator in Rome for a couple things. So I'm not going to knock them, but compare those prices, and you got to figure out your meeting. And with as I said, I've done excursions in other places. I tend not to want to do them. I tend to go off on my own in the city when I can. But on the tours we did in Europe, there were very specific things I want to do that were not close to the port, that were moving all over these towns. And I'm just like, you know what? I might be paying a little bit of a premium. I'm just going to bundle it so I can get all of these done. Like, particularly like somewhere like Turkey, I do not trust myself to get around with the language.
Yeah.
and going further from the Ephesus, the biblical city, or the Ephesians, was probably about 45 minutes from the port. And then the other part of our tour, we went to Ephesus, was uh, the Virgin Mary's house. So I don't want to go, if I'm doing multiple sites, that aren't in walking distance, I'm probably not going to do it on my own. Unless, if, yes, it happened to be a major city, when I did my Canadian cruise, Halifax, we just did the hop on, hop off bus, and I did that on my own. So there are different things you can do, but if you're just going to get off and if you want to go to a beach day or whatever, look at something like resortforaday.com or any of these sites and book those and save a little bit of money. But even things last time I was in Nassau, we wanted to do the Blue Lagoon Islands, and it was $3 more to book it through the cruise line. I was it's just more convenient and not have to worry about getting back and things like that, because with a cruise excursion, they're going to guarantee you getting to the ship.
Yeah.
And
Jordan
if for
just
some
mentioned
reason
that
they
in the chat.
can't,
Yep.
if oh my God, something happens and the ship has to leave port, the cruise line will fly you to the next port and meet you there and put you up in the hotel. Those are that's what you go for with the cruise line, is that peace of mind.
Yep.
And you know that they're vetted. But even the ones I've had the same issue with Disney and Royal tour guides. They still get a little money from the side to drop you off and take you to a little extra place that's not the excursion.
Yep.
Oh, we're going to go to this place. This is the shop you want to go to. Or when we came back from our Turkey thing, it's this wasn't on the thing, but they drop us off about, extra 100 yards away from the port. This is a little extra thing. You can go in and you can see how Turkish rugs are made. But it's just people trying to sell you rugs.
And you're not the only person that I've heard that from for that specific one.
And my daughter really loved one. So she kept saying, "No, I want that." No, I'm like, Andy, that is a year of tuition almost. It was she wanted a $9,000 or 9,000 euro.
Do you want a rug or do you want college? You have to choose, and you have to choose now. Jordan mentioned in the chat, yes, if you do the excursions, and like Ron said, the cruise line will get you back. When you're done watching Beyond the Parks here on the Park Adventurers Club, just go ahead and type in Pier Runner onto your little YouTube window and see all the people getting cruise ships. Here is the tip that I took from another YouTube channel and that saved me, is if you have a tender port. Now, a tender port is when you don't get all the way up to a dock and you actually take a smaller boat to shore.
And I've had problems with those, and I've had easy, Santorini was one of the easiest ones I've ever done.
Yep.
But we did, when we were in Cabo, the seas were high. It was hard to get on and off the ship. It was really hard to load. It really made it slow to load on the tender. When I was in Bar Harbor, one of the ships, a rope got caught in one of the tenders. A rope got caught in the propeller, so they were down to one boat while they sent a diver down to clean out the propeller. There were crew members who were worried that they were going to get fired because they were going to be late getting back on the boat. So you have to worry with the tenders.
What I was saying for the tender is that the lines get incredibly long to get your tender tickets, and if you book a excursion through the cruise, you get an automatic tender, and that is time back in your day.
That is sometimes one of the advantages of things like Royal offers the key. It's not something a lot of people recommend, because if you're going to get Wi-Fi for every member of your party, maybe it's worth it, but that would include getting a Wi-Fi for our kids and stuff. I don't think that's always worth it. If you're two adults who both want your own Wi-Fi package, or you've got older kids that want it, maybe it's worth it, because it is front of the line access to certain certain seating, certain onboard attractions, and things on and off the boat with the tenders. That is something you could always pay for, or if you have a suite or whatever, you get that access. I actually had wrote a little song about the tendering in Santorini. You don't dock in Santorini. It's tenders, God. One and all. I couldn't come up with anything after that.
Oh God. Yeah, so Santorini getting tendered is tough. I had the best time in Santorini. I really enjoyed it. Just walking around the city, it's beautiful. There are little shops everywhere to pop in and out of. They're
I
more authentic shops. As you go into these tourist areas, you're going to see that they all have the same things. Um, it's in Greece, it's the evil eye. It's
this
it's
shirt.
very much. Yeah, if you go to any sort of tourist town, you'll see the same type of things. Like it felt like Lake George to me when I was in Lake George. So watch out for those little shops, but like go into the authentic parts of the city. There was art. It was beautiful. Santorini is one of my favorite places I've ever been
I
to.
would have
Mykonos,
liked more time in the towns or
me
in
too.
Santorini. See, I
Me
had the
too.
opposite in Mykonos because that was where we walked around on our own. We didn't do an excursion. We walked around to see a few of the small museums and sites. Spent like maybe 30 minutes wading into a beach because we didn't bring swimsuits. So that's why I did like Mykonos until my daughter threw a hissy fit because she wanted the Labubus she found at all the little gift shops. Um, and if I knew how much
My
they were,
daughter got the Labubu from the gift shop. Not everyone,
if I had
but she
known
did
how
got
much
one.
they were when I got back here, I would have bought cases of them over
I
there.
don't think they're real. I don't think they're real. I hope she's not
Even
watching right
still,
now.
the knockoff
Yeah,
ones here are still 15, $20, and they were €8 there.
yeah. So yeah, Mykonos was tough for me. The wind was crazy. Make sure you know where you're going and how much like walking you can handle, because that was a problem for some of the people in our party. Um,
I think I
in
averaged 20,000 steps a day in port.
I was close to a Disney day for most of those, so I was up there.
My Rome day, I think I hit 27,000 on my
Yeah.
busiest Rome day.
Um, make sure you're really vetting out the ship that you want with the itinerary that you want. Now, for me, if I went back to Europe, I don't think I would cruise again. I think I would pick a place and go and explore. But for going to like where we're headed to the Bahamas, where I'm just going to sit on the beach and I'm not really going to get into the culture as much, I think that's a perfect place to cruise. But go ahead.
Cruising for me is the taster platter. You get to look at
Nice.
some of
I like
these
that.
towns, but particular things like I think like the Greek Isles. I don't think I want to spend a lot of time at each of these. I think a cruise was great for that. Um, if I ever do a Norwegian fjords, I think it's great for that because I don't
Ah,
think
the
I need to spend a
fjords.
lot of time in these smaller towns that you go to.
Yeah.
Same thing with Alaska. Like you get to see a lot of stuff there, but it is the sampler platter. You're not going to be immersed in the culture. Like the British
Yep.
Isles cruises, I don't think are really made to go visit. I think it's for locals to get away for a weekend and just party on the boat. Um, like we would have a Bahamas cruise. That's what those kind of things are for.
Yep. Yeah. I loved my first one. Well, thank you, Rob. We were just talking about Alaskan cruises. Our good friend Allison, should she book the Magic or the Wonder? Ron, I'm going to let you take this one because I don't know.
The ships are so close. Um, and I might be a little out of date. I think I'm not. The Wonder was re-dry docked to be specifically more for Alaska with certain things. Particularly, I know like the concierge deck and things like that, which are going to be extremely expensive. But it's designed to be have those views of Alaska, and things are more designed to be indoors. A lot of the time, there, like they don't have the water slides because they know they spend the summers there. So the ship is more conditioned to be there. I mean, they'll rotate captains and crews between the ships, so you're gonna do. The ships are so similar. Honestly, it's just the itinerary differences, if there are any. Um, because I haven't specifically looked at the itineraries. I haven't had anybody inquire about the Disney Alaska in a while, so I haven't booked one of those in a 2 years, to be honest. They're so similar. Uh, it really is. I would book more of like what you care about on the ships. If you like the restaurants, more like
Great
I
point.
love Tiana's on the Wonder. It's absolutely amazing. But there's the equivalent on the Magic too. Do you like Art Deco, Art Nouveau? So similar. The bars and everything are so similar. I don't think you can. I think they're so comparable. And if they're identical itineraries, honestly, what you can get for your buck is going to be the difference.
And I think where you're room class, you can get the most value. Not like because especially you're going to somewhere like Alaska, you got to get that balcony. So if you're looking at like a $200 difference between an interior on one and a balcony on the other, I would definitely pay an extra few to get on the balcony, and make sure that ship is meeting your needs, because the Explorer definitely did not meet my needs with a 6-year-old daughter. But I'm sure that a lot of other people it could have. So make sure it has all the things that you want.
Whenever I go on a new ship, I obsessively watch tour videos like by multiple
Same,
creators.
absolutely.
Um, I tried to do one on a couple of my cruises because I had the agency. People complain, like you say something, oh, vloggers have an easy job. They just go to the parks or on cruise all day. It's a lot of planning and work to film a lot of that stuff, I will say. But there are great tours by different vloggers, different agencies. Just watch and look at the cruise. I mean, but once again, like when you're talking in the same class of ship, the changes affect 1 to 2% differences of what you're doing. On board. Like the difference is going to be those restaurants, the aquadunk, concierge is going to be a big difference. I will say from friends who did the Wonder concierge, they said the lounge was just amazing in Alaska with the open views. But I don't remember if the Magic
It's awesome.
was one of the ones that was getting dry docked for that. But I was just surprised they put both of them out there at the time. But Alaska in the season is extremely popular.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think next year or two that's on our list to finally do it.
I don't, man, that doesn't do it for me. I am being a New Englander. I am not trying to go anywhere else cold. I've heard the views are beautiful, but give me the warmth. That Split, Croatia, on a beautiful day. I loved Croatia. And yep, there's the Explorer. Uh, choose your ship really wisely. That's the most important thing that I think I could take away from this. And like Ron said, there's tons of creators, there's networks just like the Park Adventurers Club that will be really cruise specific. Matt Hochberg, a great Disney blogger from in the very beginning of like Twitter and all that, is Royal Caribbean blog, and he was one of my sources that I went to quite frequently.
Cruise with Ben and
info-
David
Yep.
are
Get
pretty
frequent
good.
information from a lot of people.
Lalito Loca, Emma Cruises, and I'm trying.
Emma Cruises is really great. I liked Ryan and
Who's the
Kayla.
Canadian lady that talks with her hands? I can't remember her channel name.
I don't know, but
She's great,
Ron,
and she
we're
does
we're
great stuff like packing advice and stuff like that.
we're closing up on the past few minutes. We didn't
Yeah.
really touch on everything, and
No.
it's really so much with all this stuff. If people are wanting to utilize us as Park Adventure Club members, how do they get in touch with the Tomorrowland Travel Agency?
We have a special email for our PAC members. It is pack@tta-vacations.com. And if you want to request one of us, if not, we will route you to one of us or a couple of our other agents who are major Disney and cruise people. They, it's my family, honestly, and who know. We specialize specifically in the theme parks and cruise lines because that's what we know and that's the service we feel we add is that extra addition there. And so, it's TTA Vacation, no s.com is the easiest URL. And that's how to reach us. Tomorrowland Travel Authority. Been doing this for several years now, and even before that, Patrick and I have been involved in this community for a decade, or for well over a decade.
It's crazy to think about how long we've been in this community. And I mean, you and Rob as cast members, like there's so much wealth of knowledge here. Make sure you tap into it. And even if it's not us, use a travel professional because it's going to help you out. And Ron and I having these conversations before I became one. With your flight, you may want to book your flight on your own because it gives you a lot more flexibility and a lot more comfort and security to change your flight if need be instead of using a travel professional. But with all your other trip planning stuff, use somebody. It doesn't cost you anything. Most of these places will take care of the travel agents. So use that.
If your travel agent is charging a fee, they better be doing something extra, like beyond extra for you, like that a normal agent wouldn't do, which you shouldn't need to charge a fee. A lot of them just do it just to avoid window shoppers. I will admit that, but the Disney, the cruise lines, Universal, they're the ones who pay us, so it costs you nothing extra. And I always say this is one of the few industries where the better you are at your job, the less you make.
Yep.
When we will still try and save you money, even when it cuts out of our end too.
Yeah. One of the things I realized that I didn't talk about that I have all in the background here are my cruise ducks.
You had better luck than that on ours.
17 ducks we found on our trip. It was one of my favorite ways to pass the time, especially on sea days. So make sure you're looking for your cruise ducks out there. Ron, anything? Yeah, that's our family. I lost the glasses on one of them, but yeah, it was the most fun finding cruise ducks.
I think the biggest thing about cruising compared to like a park vacation is I think there's something for everybody cruising. Yeah. Like Patrick, you guys had an extended family cruise, much more laid back. We had just the three of us, and it was go 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 almost all the time off the ship. I mean, when we're on the ship, you could do different things. Like my wife went to the spa, or just sat by the pool, or sat on the balcony and just read. I'm doing trivias. I'm doing classes. I did a rum tasting, 6 different full-size rum cocktails in an hour. That one was a tough.
That's too many. I'm not gonna lie. That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, cruises. It's
or what you make of it, honestly.
Yeah. Wow, that's so many. I've heard. I didn't drink that much rum. I'm very sad. I drank mostly beer and White Claw. Because when you're drinking claws, there's no laws, especially out on international water. Like I had very little law limiting me at that time. Find your niche. Find your niche on the cruise.
Yeah. There's always activities. Like you could spend time in the casino. You could spend time in the spa. You could spend time by the pool. You can spend no extra when you get on the boat. You really can. The food is included. 100%. There are free drinks. I mean, I will always get a soda package at a minimum because I do drink a lot of soda. Probably much to my GI's dismay. But like depends on what my kind of cruise is if I'm going to get a drink package.
Coke Freestyle on Royal Caribbean. I wish more cruise lines had the Coke Freestyle. I loved it so much.
And that's another thing. Going back, like Disney gives you free soda, but you can only get in certain places. Like if you try and get a can of soda at a bar, they're going to still charge you for it on Disney. And there's a more limited place where you can go to the fountains to get it. If you have a soda package with Royal, you can go get the sodas at the bars for free. You can use the freestyle machines, which are on different decks. If your cruise line, if the ship has it, if it doesn't, you can just go to the bar and get a soda almost anywhere. So that was one of those differences. Yeah.
Any last things you want to impart our great pack? Remember, you got to like, subscribe, follow the Park Adventurers Club. Make sure you join us on Discord. We're so thankful to our pack members. You really appreciate it. Oh, of course, thanks to our Zebra Mezzanine and Treasure Room supporters, Jungle Cruiser, Rosita JK, William K. Also, big thanks to William K for hooking me up with a deal for this shirt. Monica K, Michael J. Ware, Rob, if you bring that back up, I'll read them all. Alicia, Rob B, Vince Gagliardi, Jordan Garrett, Sienna Nickel, Bucky, and Egg 663. So thank you to all our Zebra Mezzanine and Treasure Room members.
And if you guys have any
month.
questions about any kind of cruising or outside of or any trip planning stuff, you can send us those emails too, and we'll be happy to talk to you about that. And we could always looking for content here, and we'll be happy to bring that on.
Yeah, look March of 2026 for our review of Meraviglia.
Yeah, so specifically
Meraviglia,
the Meraviglia, MSC Meraviglia. This will be my second MSC cruise. Your first. They're an Italian line, very up and coming. All their ships in the U.S. are brand new and
gorgeous. I cannot wait. It's just night and day from Explorer of the Seas.
The promenade looks like the Fremont experience in Vegas.
Yeah. So February 15th, we're headed out, and we'll have a lot of that. I am very excited. I've already started watching videos to get ready for that trip.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and hope to see you soon.